Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Quranic.com. Today is Friday the 23rd of July 2021, and the purpose of this video is to give a summary to those who have followed my work for some time of where we are and what's happening next, and also to give an introduction to those who don't know me or know my work so they can get an idea of who Sam Gerrans is and what he's done and etc. in a reasonably short period of time. Now I've got a whole lot to get through, so I'll try to get through as quickly as possible. I have some notes very well organized, which will probably turn this presentation into some sort of pile of mush, but we'll see how we go. Now, in summary, so who am I? Well, I'm 54 years old now. I'll be 54 in August, and I have backgrounds in languages, in public relations, in technologies and stuff like that, in media. And I gave up my career in 2014 because I thought it was very important to follow questions of realpolitik and revelation thoroughly and without any sort of compromise. Now, what's realpolitik? Realpolitik is what really happens. It's how power really works, how things really operate, not the sort of the charade that we're given. And when I talk about revelation, I'm talking about the Qur'an. Now, am I a Muslim? Well, I don't believe it's possible to be a Muslim any more than it's possible to be pregnant. You either kind of are or you're not, and it's as simple as that. And if you want to know what Muslim means, then I refer you to my translation, which I will give you links to shortly, and you can, sort of dig into that to your heart's delight. So that was my initial background. Now, if you throw a hand grenade into the hornet's nest of the Islamic world and explain to them, in fact, demonstrate to them that they haven't really got to grips with the book they claim as their foundational scripture, you can expect some blowback, some pushback, and that has happened. However, the reason why I've done this is because I saw where we were going in terms of world history. It was quite obvious that the ruling elites were going to make a move. They were going to bring in a sort of perfected form of slavery. And I hate to say it, but clearly that analysis was correct and proven to be so. So that's the sort of background to it. So that's why I thought it was more important to do this work than to just continue with my career, because frankly, the alternative to the God protocol, which is what I'm going to get to shortly, is just so horrific, and I can't in all conscience leave that kind of future, bequeath that to my children. So that's why I've done this work in part. The other part of it was that I wanted to do my own due diligence on the Qur'an. And it was quite clear to me quite early on that the hadith kind of obsessed people, they just don't have it. I mean, if they'd had it, if they could present an argument that really made some sort of sense, I'd have gone with that. I'd been fine with that. I had no sort of pre-existing requirement to make myself a target of this kind, but I actually do want the answers, and now I've got them. So that's where that sort of the motivation for that's where that came from. My first stage of work was between 2014 2017, and the output of that was the first edition of the Qur'an, A Complete Revelation, the first hardback edition of which was released in 2017. And that process was undertaken. It was a lot of work. I mean, the actual output of that work ran to over 530,000 words, and incorporated an entirely new form of a method of hermeneutic. And I'll just give you two examples of what I mean by that. The first method, which really informed all of my work, is what I call Pan-Textual Analysis. Now, what I mean by Pan-Textual Analysis, that rather than reading a text in a sort of linear fashion, that when I came to particular words or collocations in the text that have, quite clearly didn't comport with the values that were ascribed to those things by the religion called Islam, was to go through the entire text. As I say, I have a background in technology. I'm not a big technical kind of guy, but I'm a sort of super user of quite a wide range of different programs. I'm not a programmer, but I can really find my way through programs. So I basically put the whole thing initially into an Excel spreadsheet, and all of the roots and all of the original Arabic, and so I was able to traverse the corpus of the text extremely quickly, looking for particular patterns. And where this came from was there's a Czech linguist called Bedřich Hrozný, who was tasked with the unenviable task of trying to work out what the Hittite libraries meant. Now, scholars knew what cuneiform was, so they understood the alphabet, but nobody had any access to this particular literature. And they discovered like a whole library of this stuff and said, here you are, Bedřich, knock yourself out with this lot. And what he did was something incredibly intelligent and had a much harder task than anything I had to do. And what he had was, because he had to sort of try to develop a dictionary based on no knowledge. So he went through this entire body of work and looked for the most often repeating word. And he reasoned correctly that this would mean grain or bread, because it was an agrarian society and therefore they would be talking about this most. And so he sort of pieced together a core of words, and then he was able to access what he already knew about other languages and so on. And he pieced this whole thing together. And I read this and I thought, that's really clever. Perhaps we can apply something like this to the Qur'an, treating the Qur'an as what it claims to be, which is from God, preserved, perfect and complete. So that's the basis on which my work was sort of fundamentally sort of premised. There's a second example of this kind of technique or methodology which I've used is what I call Quranic definitions. Now, a Quranic definition is quite often you read in the Qur'an and it'll say, and it'll give a description and it'll say so and so are the so and so, and you think, that's a definition. Does it fit? Again, taking that definition, going through all of the examples of that particular word or that particular root or that particular collocation, and it does fit. In fact, it fits better than what they've got. So this was the process, and it's been this iterative process is something I've been through tens and tens and tens of thousands of times upon the text. Now, the first output of this, anybody with a technology background will understand that when you first produce something, iPhone 1, it's not perfect. It works. It holds together. If you know how Steve Jobs presented iPhone 1, he had about 10 or 15 different iPhones underneath the table. He wasn't using the same one for every single part of his presentation because they were crashing, there were bugs and all the rest of it. You have to get to what's the first acceptable version of your product and then get feedback. Now, that was what I was doing. So at the 2017, when I launched this, I launched it in PDF first, then hard copy, etc. I started to get feedback. Now, not all feedback is created equal, and you do have to learn to ignore, because a lot of people have got a lot of energy, and not all of it is particularly productive. But every now and then, I got a piece of feedback. You went, yes, that's right. I could never have got that on my own. And I've always been quite happy to give, appropriate, attribution to people who have contributed to my work. I've always offered them that. As I say, quite a lot of it is a waste of time, but just occasionally you get something, yes. So over this period from 2000 and I've actually got some notes I'm supposed to be looking at. Yes, from 2017 onwards, having reached this first stage, I launched that, got the blowback that I was expecting, but on top of this, I began to get some sort of traction. Not huge amounts, of course. I mean, this channel's been going since 2015. I don't know how many subscribers I've got. It's less than 10,000. It's about 8,000 something. So, it was never going to be like a huge, noise, as it were. And I didn't care about that. That's not the Quranic method. It's very few people who really care about stuff like this. But I've designed the channel in order to kind of weed out, those sorts of people who just want a 5-second introduction. Just explain it to me, bro. Yeah. The mysterious letters. Just give it to me in 5 seconds. I don't have time for them. Other people can explain that to them. I'm a kind of different level of analysis to that. So in a way, making what I call long and boring videos has been the way that I've proceeded in order to preclude that kind of attention, which is just absolutely, to me, worthless. This period of my work was completely self-financed. It was financed out of my savings from what I had from my career. On the basis of that created some sort of traction. And it also brought people who were interested in my work and supported that work. And it's been thanks to those people over that period from whenever it was, 2016, 2017, to this point, which has made everything else possible. So I just want to say that that's completely the case. Now, over this period between 2017, I rewrote, expanded, refined my work on the Qur'an, A Complete Revelation. Now, why would you do this? You already had a book. Yes, well, the thing was, I understood that I couldn't go from a sort of standing start to where I am now in one move. It was too big. I couldn't finance it. I haven't got, didn't have 10 years worth of finance, and also you've done it, you have no audience, so you have to kind of do these things in parallel. So that's what's been happening since that point. Part of what's been happening since that point and where we are now is a complete rewrite of the Qur'an, A Complete Revelation. And I'll get into the reasons for this a little bit. In fact, I'll get into them now. Why do this? My primary interest is not the traditionalist, it's not brand Islam, it never has been. My primary interest is essentially political. I can see where they're going with this. I can see where the ruling elites are going. And I could also see, because I have a literature background, my degree was in Russian language and literature. So I read a lot of books. And when you read a lot of books, if you like reading books, you start to understand, you should think for yourself as you read those books. I mean, just as a very brief aside, when I was doing my degree in Russian, I read all of Dostoevsky's, big 4 books. I read the whole lot. If you read every night, I was doing 200 pages a night, you get through them in a few weeks, whatever it was. I then went into lectures, and I didn't recognize the books that I just read from the lecturer's description of them. And I realized, he hasn't read these books for like 20 years. He's been giving the same lectures. He's created a book in his own mind, which is, the Devils or, Crime and Punishment or whatever it is. You learn, we all in our professions, we acquire professional kind of skills, and I can read a book, I can read it for myself, and I can, form conclusions on the basis of this. Now, when I first read the Qur'an, and I read it in English translation, I read it in the translation of Abdul Yusuf Ali, which is an okay translation. It was quite clear as you go through this book that there are points at which it kind of goes, you can just feel that it just doesn't comport with the rest of what's going on, but enough of it did for me to understand this book is from God, because I got some very clear answers on things I couldn't understand before. I come from a Christian background, and this whole grace works thing, it never made any sense. Jesus is what? Is this? Is he the Son of God? Is he the prophet? It doesn't make any sense. In the Quran, I was getting answers to that. I mean, before I even got like 5 pages into Al-Baqarah, which is the second chapter of the Quran, I pretty much had most of those answers. I was very, very impressed. And as I read this book, I read it slowly. If you've ever been bitten by religion, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this channel have, once bitten, twice shy. So I was very careful. And also once you've had that, you know what to look for. Because, when I met Muslims, I just saw the same thing. I saw sin in Christianity, basically outsourcing of the brain, a kind of very vague hope. And also the fact that the founding scripture had been supplanted by an entirely different ideology. In most cases, that was my experience. All that to say, when I read this book, it was quite clear that there's a pattern emerging, and that pattern is that there's a warner, there's a people who sin, and sin is the old word for commit crimes. They commit crimes against God and against themselves, against each other. And then there's a warner. And there's a series of these. There's Noah, there's Hud, there's Saleh, and it just goes through the list, until you get up to Lot and Abraham, I would argue, if you look at my work, the God Protocol. And it was quite clear that Muhammad was operating according to this mechanism, this structure, this template, and that was entirely the template that he was implementing. So I realized that there's almost like a recipe in this book. And what I've done since 2007 till this time is develop my thinking on this. And in my work, The God Protocol, which I'll get to in a moment, I've analysed, summarised, synthesised, and tabulated what this protocol is. Okay? By using the same principles of pan-textual analysis in the first instance, to identify, on the basis of the interlocking contents of this book, what this protocol is. All right, so that's what's been happening over this second period of work. Now, the reason why I needed to have an upgraded, updated, perfected, as far as humanly possible, given that there's just me, version of the Qur'an, a complete revelation, is because I needed a formal legal basis upon which all of this could work. And I'm going to get now to the reason why that's the case. The reason why that's the case is because it's to do with how the ruling elite operate with us. They warn you, and then they do it to you. They always warn you. Klaus Schwab, I have one of his books here, The Great Reset. They're telling you. It's written in a very sanitized form of corporate jargonese. I know, because I used to write in this style. I've been paid to write this, but I can interpret reading between the lines. They're really just telling you. They're telling you, they're telling you very nicely, we're going to do this to you, and then we're going to do that to you, and then we're going to do the other to you. And they use a set of, they use a nomenclature which sanitizes it, and emotionally, it allows you to kind of distance yourself from what it's saying. But it's telling you that, and the reason they're telling you is because they want you to be culpable and not them. And they operate on this basis. Now, the reason why they operate on this basis is because they know that it works. And the reason why it works is because that's how God has made things. This is embedded in the sort of existential infrastructure of the universe. It sounds a bit sort of highfalutin, but basically these are laws, and they're obeying those laws, and that's just how it is. However, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Now, nobody uses this against them. Why do they not use it against them? They're kind of caught up in this proposition of when enough people wake up, everything's going to be wonderful. This is ludicrous, and it's something that the ruling elite, know themselves, in fact, their every waking moment confirms it to them, is total nonsense, okay? But this is not the Quranic method. The Quranic method is a protocol, and once that protocol has been implemented, then the punishments of God become binding. And that is what I've been focused on from day one. It's my only focus. I don't care about brand Islam. I don't care about being, sort of a popular person in this or that field. I'm not interested in any. I'm interested in this. And that's what I've been working to over all this time. And that's what you've helped support. If you've helped support me. Now, why do we need the Qur'an, a complete revelation? Well, the reason is because when the elites warn you, they don't just have, Klaus sort of have somebody ghostwrite a book which he reads over and then signs off on. No. They have an entire legal infrastructure underpinning all of this to which you have access. Do you read it? No, of course not, otherwise. But it's there. And it's all in place, explaining exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and it has to be there. This is, again, a law. And so it's no good when I'm going to get to actually warning the elite, which is this process is already underway now. It's not just a matter of, doing whatever you're going to do, just as when they warn you. It's not a matter of them just sending you a letter or them just putting out another, blockbuster film in which all of the themes are embedded to get you ready for what they've got coming next. No, there is an entire legal infrastructure underneath this to which you must have access should you wish to have it. And that is what works for them too. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And this has been the reason why I needed to have this fundamental, legal, formal basis upon which these other things could be built. The God protocol explains that basis, and then we have the final, as it were, the detonating statement, which I'll get to in a moment if I can make sense of what's left of my notes. So that's the background, that's the motivation. Now, also, over this period, I was able to revise and fundamentally revisit and upgrade my work to the mysterious letters. And this is now logical, it's finalized, and as with all of my work, you can download all of it free and print it off free from Quranic.com. So that brings me to the next stage, what's been happening with my websites. Not that, I'm a huge website person. I've redesigned Quranic.com to make it sort of look a bit nicer, but what's on there? What's on there is the Qur'an, a complete revelation, which the full work, just what it's going to be like in the printed book, if we, still can do that. Just download it if you want. You can use it for your personal use. You can I mean, it's 1,200 pages, but if you wish, you can print the whole thing off. The same thing goes for the God Protocol. Now, the God Protocol summarizes what I've kind of hit on, the points that I've hit on, over this bit of my talk. But that will give you, that's not so huge. It's about, I think the main body of work is about 300 pages, but it's quite, it's quite sparsely, the pages are not very densely written and so on. You can read it in a day. You'll understand what the God Protocol is, why this is correct, and why what I've done on the basis of this is legal and effective. And so that's that. So all of that work is there. You can download it. I do hope to have hard copy books. It's going to take about a month to get to that point, but we'll see. We're living in uncertain times, so that's just how that is. All of the audio that I took down a few days ago from my YouTube channel, I have re-recorded. Took a month. All this stuff just takes time. People say, "Oh, why is it taking so long?" Because it's work. That's why it takes so long. I read through the entire thing, and the reading of it took an hour for each juz, and then you have to edit the whole thing. That takes another 3 hours, and then you have to compile it and blah 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 and upload it. So anyway, that took a month. That's all done. You can download all of that in MP3s for free. If I sound a bit tired in the reading, there's a reason for that. Okay. Lastly, but by no means least, what we have now on Quranic.com is a link in the top in the menu bar which says Reader, and that will open another page, a new tab. And this part of things I didn't make. This was done. Brother Nas wrote a script which was able to suck out everything that I'd got in the translation, the English translation, the Arabic original, of course, and all of my notes and commentary. Because part of reading in a paper format, you have to keep going between here and there. It's not very. It's not very ergonomic. And Brother Saeed Mirza, God bless you, man. He paid for and oversaw this entire project of building this thing. And you'll see how great it is. I mean, I'm using it now as a resource. It's just great. Firstly, of course, you've got it all there online. It should fit within your mobile phone, all the rest of it. But you can search for a word. You can search on roots. You can click on the English. If you click on the English text, it'll just bring up any single word. It'll bring up all the instances of that with all of the references. It's a really good resource. But more than that, it's a demonstration and accessible worldwide to anybody who wishes to have it. It's publicly available. It's completely free, as is all of my work. And, it's something that you can use, and I hope that you will use. Maybe we'll upgrade it some more, I don't know, but it's extremely good as it is, and I'm really grateful for it. And the last few days I've been playing with it, and just it's amazing. So, knock yourself out with that. I'm going to return a little bit to the question of the God Protocol. So what is the God Protocol? The God Protocol is a mechanism. It's a template. As I say, it's a little bit like a recipe. How to make Victoria's sponge cake, where you take this and you take this and you do this. It's not rocket science. If you do those things with flour and eggs and whatever it is. It's a long time since I made Victoria's sponge cakes, the sort of thing they used to make you make in British comprehensive schools in cookery class. But I do know that if you start with particular things and go through a particular process, you do end up with Victoria's sponge cake. You're not going to end up with a Mercedes or, a duck-billed platypus. It will be this. Well, that's what the Qur'an has got. It has this very particular methodology which was implemented multiple times in the past, and in all but one case resulted in total annihilation of the rejectors. Okay, that's it. That's how it works. Now, Muhammad, as we'll see if you read the God Protocol, I'm not going to be explaining all of this, I've given it to you, but just in summary, various messengers and prophets had multiple missions. Moses, for example, had a multiple mission when he was sent to the land of Pharaoh. He has two missions. One is to deliver a mission of warning to Pharaoh, and the other is to deliver the children of Israel out of his hands. Now, they're related missions, but they're definitely discrete. Now, Muhammad he was a messenger of God and a warner. He's a warner, very clearly identified as such in the Qur'an. He certainly understood himself in those terms, and his entire mission was based on this basis. However, he had a further mission, which was, it says, "Say thou, I am the messenger of God to you altogether, to mankind altogether." Now, this was not given to anyone else. And how could you be a messenger of God to mankind all together? Well, there's only one way, and that is if mankind is all together. Well, mankind is all together now, as we've seen demonstrated in the last couple of years. We live under a single system, a single economic system, a single pharmaceutical system, a single basically legal system. The whole world is united under a single lingua franca, which is the English language, which is how the ruling elites talk to each other. And therefore, this is the only time in which this mission, this single unique mission to mankind altogether could be completed. Muhammad completed every single portion of this in the Quran. You can see it. But there's one element that he was not able to deliver for the simple reason that he did not belong to this society. And that is to express a statement of affiliation to that society. Now, if you read my work, you'll see that actually the same was the case in the case of Moses. Before the throne of Pharaoh, before Pharaoh's people, Moses was not able to say to them, "O my people," which is absolutely standard throughout the protocol. Noah said it, Salih said it, Hud said it, Lot said it, but he could not say it. And there's a very simple reason why Moses could not say that. It's because he was not of that people, which I demonstrate beyond any kind of logical, arguments in my work. He was not of that people, and he never says it. He does say, "Oh my people," but he only says it to his people relative to his second related but distinct mission. However, in this case, someone else, a believing man of the people of Pharaoh, says, "Oh my people," and he appeals to those people and he makes that an entire speech in Surah 40. That speech is quite clearly the detonating mechanism in that, the detonating statement in that case. And if you read my work, you'll see why it's that statement alone can be used in this case in order to provide the last point, just this one bit that could not be provided by Muhammad in the Quran, because there's no way he could address mankind altogether on the basis of a statement of affiliation, because he didn't belong to it. He belonged to 7th century Arab culture. He spoke the language of those people. Well, and there wasn't such a thing. It didn't exist, but it does now. And so that's why this is the right time for this. On a side note on this point, it's entirely thanks to the ruling elites who have set up a system where all these things are true, which makes it possible for this last component to be delivered. Had they not done that, had they not created a mishmash of world culture, destroying all cultures, or all races fundamentally, all histories, everything, they've destroyed everything. If they hadn't done that, it wouldn't be possible to implement this at this time. The Quran says that they plan against themselves. Did they? But no, and they don't know, they don't perceive it, but that's how it's been, and that's how it is. So moving forward, what's my role? Do I see myself as something amazing and special? No, I don't. What I see myself as is somebody who can read a book using his own brain. That I think, I'm going to stand on that one. And the second is I am a believing man, and I am a subject of this world state, as is everybody watching this. So that's it. That's the entirety of my qualifications. I have no, delusions of my own position or anything like that. So, I'm sure people will do what they will do with that. But that's the truth of it. Moving forward. Yes, warning. So the elites create a system of culpability. They want you culpable, and this is how this works. Now, what I've done is, as I say, placed all of this, the legal process, the legal foundation in place. That's all there. The God Protocol explains that. This would be the equivalent of Klaus Schwab's, the Great Reset. So that's there. Anyone can take it. It's completely free, entirely free. But on top of that, there is this one statement. And this statement, this isn't just coming out of the blue. This has an entire legal framework underneath it, okay? Has been actioned. And what I've done is I've set up a separate site called warningtotheelite.org. And I'm going to put links for these down below, obviously. And what we've done is we've sent this statement with links to the full legal explanation of all of this to 900 of the most influential people in the world today. And we've chosen people from a range of backgrounds, because this whole thing works together, whether it's pharmaceutical, it's the sort of so-called security services, billionaires, government, academics, think tanks, all those people. Now, is it possible to, can you go to the yellow pages and just find a list of all these people? No, you can't. But what you can do is to work on reasonable averages and use with them what they use with us. What they use with us is a scattergun approach. They just blast a certain amount of sort of buckshot into the air and consider that they fulfill the requirements of making a reasonable statement, a reasonable opportunity to become apprised of the facts. If you don't choose to use that, that's on you. Well, the same works here. Now, if you go to warningtotheelite.org, you will find a complete list of everybody who's been sent this and their address, and there is a status on each point, and this includes, I'm not going to name them all here because I don't want to get flagged but too much, but look up your favorite kind of globalist, in inverted commas, and you may well find them there. Presently, I'm going to wait until, because the postal system is now running, really slow. But these aren't just letters. These are registered mail. They've been sent. We sent over 900 international registered posts. I have these are all the receipts. Okay, this has definitely been done. But I'm only going to send live the actual tracking, because I'm going to have the tracking number and all of this when these things start to feed through into their respective countries. But once that happens, I'm going to change a bit of code, and that'll go live, and you can check. You can see whether it's been received, whether it's been rejected, whether it's been received. There's proof. There's proof, objective proof, verifiable proof. They have been warned. There's no question about this. So that's what's been happening there. And they also have free, unlimited access to all of the work which supports that, just as we do, just as dear old Klaus Schwab has made sure that we all have access to all of this stuff, to where they outline what they're planning. Well, this is God's plan, so they can check, they can read all that, and they can take it for free. There's worldwide access at this time, thanks to the system that they provided us with in order to trap us. Again, they plan against themselves, but they perceive not. So that's that. Books. Hard copy books, I think it's going to take about a month, God willing, to bring those online. Everything's done. I'm sending that stuff to the printers now, but it's going to take a month at least for me to get a copy and to check it through to make sure I'm happy with it before I can send that live. So that's that. The next thing is, next stage. What am I going to do next? Well, I would like to complete my readings of the surahs to the end of the Qur'an up to 114 with expositions, but I'm not going to promise on this. As I said earlier in this talk, we're living in uncertain times, and I've been working full all sheets to the wind for so long that a lot of other things have kind of been on the back burner whilst I completed this. But this is done now, so my focus is going to be on my family. Over the next couple of months, I will try and make videos if I can. I'd like to get these last ones done, and I feel like I've really completed on that. But I'm not going to promise. I'm going to do the best that I can. No more writing. That's it. I'm done. My writing's finished. I've got nothing else to say. I'm not here to kind of create a career for myself. And the world, we're living through a revolution, in case you haven't noticed. And so that's all done now. I wanted to do a very particular job, and I've done that job. I've been privileged. I've been given the skills and the time and the abilities and the support to manage to do that. But I'm not here to kind of create a career for myself. So that's that. For me, I'm going to focus on my family and trying to get out of the city and as far away from everything as possible. So I may not have an awful lot of internet connection. I will continue to do what I can do as I can do it, but I'm just telling you it as it is. A few sort of other points. The sites, all of my stuff, those all have second admins, people who can, in the event of my not being able to support those, we'll have copies of them. We'll be able to make mirror sites and all the rest of that. So that's all been taken care of. MeetQuranites.com, which is the sort of getting to know you site. I would imagine, I'm not going to be able to support that going forward. I'm going to have to sort of think about how the best way to go is with that. It may be that I'm going to stop supporting it. It may be that I can find somebody else who will support it. We'll see. But, we're all going to be living in changed, conditions really soon. If we want to continue living, you need to work, kind of make that reality. And as I say, I may not have an awful lot of internet access at some point. I'm not saying it's going to be today or tomorrow, but, we can see where all of this is going. A few other points. YouTube. Yeah, my YouTube channel. I would just assume that my YouTube channel is going to go at some point. That would be the fairest thing to do, not because I'm going to do it, but because, they're really looking down on stuff. So, Brother Nas, if you check down in the I can't remember what you call it, drop down, whatever, down there somewhere, he's running a server, an audio server, and you should be able to get everything in a sort of podcast form from there. So there is a backup there. So but make sure you've got that link, because as I say, you need to plan for the unexpected. Where are we? Yeah, I'm not going to be monitoring my YouTube channel anymore. I mean, when I say YouTube channel, I mean comments. Comments is monitoring is a near zero kind of reward task. Very occasionally I have comments, as I said earlier, that kind of go, or just get a thought going, but mainly it's not particularly useful. Mainly, I mean, some of it's nice, but if you've ever had a channel, you have a channel, you'll know what I mean. So my plan with that, once I get some time, is I'm going to unblock all of the unhelpful people who have, with all that, foul-mouthed nonsense. I'm just going to unblock them all. It's going to take a while, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to not monitor comments anymore because I don't have time. So that's that one. Facebook. If you follow me on Facebook, the reason why I had a Facebook page, was because I wanted to kind of create a bit of a sort of a body of followers, so that I could basically, when it came to this point, I could make an announcement there. I've deleted all of my Facebook posts. I've deleted all of my Facebook interactions. I'm just like persona non grata. I've still got a couple of thousand followers and friends, or whatever you call it. I'm going to make one or two posts regarding this work there, and then that's it. So, and also I'm going to kind of allow, I've got about 500 people who want to be friends. But, if I just add you now, it doesn't mean I'm going to be kind of like, have a lot of time for being buddies. Because for me, I'm just cutting down my whole internet time. My job's done, on that front. As I say, apart from finishing these videos, which I would like to do, but I'm not going to promise, but I'll do them as many as I can. That's basically it. I'm not continuing to write. I'm not continuing to, when you get to a point you finished, haven't you? So that's where I am with it. I don't know, maybe there'll be some further application of this, but outside of finishing these, whatever it is, another 30, 40 videos, something like that, if I can do that, I'd like to do that. But my focus right now is going to be on my family. It's going to be on getting out of the city. It's going to be on, getting as far away from all of this as possible. Just so you know, what they're bringing in Russia is a horror story. They're bringing in a legal infrastructure, which means they can basically take your house and make you leave the door open and ship you off wherever. It's that the whole legal basis for what for what they want to do is there, and the only way out of this is going to be to leave. And I don't want to leave. We live in a 2-room flat. We don't have a huge house or anything, but it's a nice place. We live in a city it's quite pretty, etc. I've got no interest whatsoever in going to live in some freezing cold, forest somewhere. But neither am I going to let them turn me and my children into what they want to do. I'm not going to be a Bluetooth beacon. I'm going to do what I can do. Now, this is a great tradition, and it's not the first time it's happened in history. But what I can tell you, if you're still here, if you've watched it this long, is that after this process, once the elites have been warned, once they get these letters, once they've read them, it doesn't matter what they think of them, I couldn't care less. After that point, according to the protocol, the punishments of God become binding absent one outcome, which is repentance. And repentance isn't just feeling slightly different or saying you're sorry. Repentance is turning round the entire policy that has driven us to this point, and I don't see that happening. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm preparing and I'm praying for the end of this system. And I'm not like Abraham. I'm not going to be pleading for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. It isn't going to happen. I say damn them all. Damn them to hell for what they've done. And this is the protocol of God, and I am in fear of it. I couldn't put it back if I wanted to. If that sounds insane, well, it's too bad. Read my work, see how you feel then. Okay, that's it. In closing, I want to say thank you to all of those people who have supported my work over this period between 2017 and now. Had it not been for your financial support, I couldn't have done it. There's no question about it. I would have had to do other things. I can tell you that I have worked full time completely on this. And, you know, I nearly made I drove myself to an early grave. I have had to learn to look after myself physically as well. And, you know, thanks also to my wife for her support and for looking after me over this period of work. But it's done now. And so as far as I'm concerned, you know, they wait and I'm waiting. And as it says in the Qur'an, I am with you waiting. And I know what this protocol is. I know how it works. I know it inside out. And I do invite you to avail yourself of the opportunity to read it for yourself free and to consider its contents. I wish everyone well. I will try and post, you know, other videos, as I say, but my priorities from now on are what they are. And I wish everyone well and make preparation on all fronts, because we're at a point in my view where I know how the shaitan works. He gets people who follow him to the very point where they think they're about to get what they've sold their souls for, and then he takes it all away. And so that's what I think is going to happen to them. My own view is that, seeing as this protocol applies to mankind altogether, that implies in the event of destruction, which I see no alternative to, it implies total destruction. So I'm certainly making preparation in the fear of God for that outcome. I see no alternative. I wish there were one. If you read my work, you know, I'm not sort of chomping at the bit for this. I wish there was an alternative, but there isn't. So you just have to face it, don't you? Anyway, that's all for now. And as I say, I will try to make some more videos in the near future, and I hope everyone's well. If you're listening to YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Qur'an free using the button in the top right hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. I also encourage you to sign up for the Qur'anite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Qur'an alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short, eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.